Hello everyone. First of all, I want to say sorry that I haven't been able to stream for a couple of days. The reason is that I've been moving and this is the first thing that I record in my new place. I'm making myself a little streaming alcove right here. It's far from finished, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. Today I want to talk about statistics and numbers. I love making these videos. It's always really interesting to look at these numbers. As usual, they've been created and compiled by Olba, who's the hero of the community who keeps looking at these numbers, turning them into easy to understand spreadsheets and putting them on Reddit for us. So if you go to Reddit, you'll see his post. Please show him your support. He usually pops up in the comments as well. So let's show our appreciation for him. And we have some really interesting things to look at. I think that patch 5.0 for Tekken 7 Season 4 was actually kind of underwhelming in terms of the balance changes that it actually brought to the game, but it has had a pretty big effect on things like character popularity and rank distribution. So maybe the patch was bigger than we thought, or maybe Tekken players just tend to react dramatically to small changes because we've had no changes for so very long, but we still play the game. Now, the first thing I want to have a look at together is just overall character popularity. So you've probably seen this image before in previous videos, but we have the start of Season 4 on the left, the middle, I guess, of Season 4 in the middle, and then where we are right now on the right. And so the change number here corresponds to if it's green, it's the number of placements that the character has climbed. If it's red, it's the amount of placements that the character has fallen since the data was last compiled, right? And if we look at the very top, it looks pretty much exactly the same. It has for, years and years and years. The top three characters in this game in terms of popularity are Paul, Kazuya, and Brian. It's been that way almost forever. It probably will be that way almost forever. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of any of these characters. Main Man in a recent video called me a professional contrarian because I just want to like things that aren't very popular, but I'm not disliking these characters because they are popular. I genuinely don't like the design. So I guess that's the difference between trying to be cool and actually being cool. But if we have a look at the top, again, Paul, Kazuya, Brian, that's the same. Fakum Lam still placing very high here. And this is kind of surprising because Fakum Lam was nerfed very, very hard in patch 5.0. So hard that a lot of people started putting him at the bottom tier now, calling him one of the most nerfed characters ever. I don't know if that's actually true. I'd have to go through the entire character again in practice mode and make up my mind on where he is now. I think he feels a lot more reasonable, which is a good thing, but people still seem reasonably happy to play the character. I think that patch 5.0 hasn't been out for long enough that we're going to see how these numbers actually settle, and I would be very interested to come back to these numbers maybe another 3 months down the line and see if there's been a fall off of Fakum Lam. It wouldn't surprise me, but for now he still makes it into the top 5. Devil Jin has seen a little bit of a bump despite being nerfed heavily. Dragunov, which is kind of surprising to me because I see almost no Dragunovs at all these days, but I think it's one of those things where you have a lot of Dragunovs in the slightly lower ranks, kind of similar to Paul. But then we finally get to the most meteoric rise in popularity that I've ever seen in any of these data sheets. I think it might be the biggest boost a character has had in appreciation in the history of Tekken 7. Barring DLC characters coming out and making a splash. And of course, it's Feng. Feng has been a strong character. I think we're realizing now. For a very long time, he's been sleeping, in the base roster since the game was new. But because he has kind of awkward combos and not very high combo damage, at least I think that's the reason, people have kind of neglected him for a long time. And it's one of those things where it took a couple of people demonstrating the power of the character for it to become a lot more popular. Of course, Ni won a very big tournament with this character, and so a bunch of people got influenced. So now we've got influenced Fengs all over online. And it's really funny whenever I play against a Feng or I talk about the fact that the popularity has risen. 50 people in the chat right away going, I've been playing, Feng since Tekken 6, I loved him since, long before all of this. And that is, of course, lying. And whenever somebody plays Feng or talks about playing Feng, since, back in the day, you should make fun of them for being influenced bitches who don't have a will of their own. Seriously, though, I think, Ni having that win was a big factor, but when some people see the character online, see what it can do, that starts influencing people even more. And I think this has a bit of a cascading effect where now it's almost undeniable that Feng is one of the better characters in the game. He's not necessarily very complex to play, and the fact that he has kind of low combo damage unless you do like clutch dash jabs and things like that. Everything else is super good. Range, safety, a lot of tricky strings, evasion, very high damage on individual moves, not necessarily combos, but individual moves, and also fantastic Oki, one of the best Oki packages of any character in the game, really. So super interesting. What a dramatic rise in Feng, and it just goes to show that one of these days your obscure shitty character that you've been advocating for your entire life will be played by some popular player, and then all of a sudden it's going to be at the top of the tier list. Everybody's going to be crying for nerfs. Everybody's going to be playing it. I hope it doesn't happen to my favorites because like the main man said, and he always speaks the truth, I am a born contrarian. Another little bit of an upset here. Leroy is losing 4 positions in this update. Leroy was another character that was nerfed very heavily. Definitely needed it. He still makes it into the top 10, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to keep on falling. Again, I'd like to see this data again a couple of months down the line. And some other interesting ones. Kunimitsu on the rise despite quite heavy nerfs. Kunimitsu is out of the 4 late DLC characters that I don't enjoy because of their balancing, the one that got away with the most bullshit in my opinion. It's probably out of those 4 characters the one that has stayed the strongest and retained most of the really powerful stuff. And if I was going to speculate, and you shouldn't really, because statistical numbers like these are famously difficult to bring a good interpretation to. Maybe it's just the case that more and more people, have gotten to where they want with their own mains, and they just pick up Kuni because it's an easy character to just, buy on a Sunday and, get a couple of ranks. But who knows? Maybe people just like kitty ninjas. And then we've got Lydia also rising 5 positions despite heavy nerfs in the 5.0 patch. Really quite interesting. Who knows why? This character feels very different. Still, I think, pretty strong, honestly, after the nerfs. Maybe we need to restudy and relearn the matchup now that the nerfs have happened. That's something that a lot of us should be getting to, but haven't done yet, because those matchups have really changed. And then Jack, 3 positions up, got some not super huge, but just pretty nice sort of quality of life buffs in the patch. I think his buffs were kind of overestimated. The most dramatic one was really his wall bouncing Death Fist, in my opinion, and people don't seem to be using that much anyway. Maybe it's a little bit too slow and linear. I don't know. Maybe people just don't like the awkward input. And then finally, we've got Leo up 6 positions. And this is where I guess I got kind of influenced by the patch, because I started playing Leo after the patch. It didn't do well at all. It was just a character that didn't jive with my style. So even though I tried to force myself to become good at Leo, I didn't manage it. So it's just one of those things where me and Leo were not necessarily meant to be, Feel free to create fan art to the contrary. Looking at these numbers overall, I'm a little bit worried because, as usual, okay, I am maybe a born contrarian, but I would love to have some of my favorite characters at least in like the top 20, so I could feel like I will have a character next game. The highest placed character that I actually play and enjoy is Negan. We know for a fact that he's dead and he's in position 13, and then you have to go down to, I guess, Lars maybe a little bit, but then all the way down to Miguel at 22, which is, kind of sad. I would love to have, at least a couple of my favorites a little bit higher up, because we know that this is the kind of thing that Namco look at when they consider how they are going to include characters and balance characters in the future. Let's move on and have a look at some character popularity at high ranks. So this is revered, ruler, and up. And I think one thing that's really interesting here you always see Paul at the very top of the popularity, but then people always also say, I don't see any Pauls. Where are all the Pauls if he's so popular? But you can see a very clear pattern here. He's the most played character at Revered Ruler, Divine Ruler. He starts to fall off maybe a little bit once you get into Blue, and once you get past Yoxa, or Eugen, he falls off completely and doesn't even make it into the top 5 at all. So we can know for a fact that that theory that people in lower ranks enjoy Paul more than people in high ranks is true. And maybe it's just the case that this is as far as you can get with Paul before people really start getting good at doing the good stuff, ducking the back sway kick, the 3-2, walking your trooper rolls, not getting baited by down 4-2, block punishing death fists with a pushback move, things like that. But again, that's speculation. Interestingly, I think Paul is actually an extremely strong character who will definitely do fantastically well, even in the very top ranks in the game. I think he's down 4-2 is a strong candidate for best move in all of Tekken. It has some competition, but it's up there. It's a crazy move. He's got movement, damage, combos, setups, above average grappling, pretty much everything you could ask for. But he becomes, if you want to play him at a high level, Paul is known for being the Unga Bunga gorilla, but there's actually a little bit more to it, and you definitely want to get good at, for example, backdashing on a backsway character, which isn't natural for everybody. It's something that I haven't practiced a lot myself. You have to do the same thing for Brian. He kind of takes over the top spot, Ryujin and on, all the way up to True Tekken God, which is crazy. So he is extremely popular, and Kazuya prolific throughout this entire picture. One of the most popular characters ever. And there's this entire subculture, of Tekken players who are Mishima boys, but most Mishima boys are actually Kazuya boys. Because Kazuya is the Mishima, and then there's, filigree. That's basically my opinion. If you go to the very top ranked Tekken God Omega, TGO, Devil Jin becomes the most represented character. That is despite the fact that he got nerfs in the recent patch. But now I want to get to and talk about something that is maybe the most important point I would want to make with this video, which is the fact that some of the absolute most powerful characters in this game got nerfed extremely heavily. Quite recently, Fakum Lam, Leroy being like the two big ones who are very represented here. Devil Jin also took big nerfs. I still think this character is absolutely ridiculous. Hell Sweep, Laser Scraper, Steel Pedal, Electric Wind, God Fist, whatever. But the upward 4 is a pretty big nerf. But you can see that these characters like Leroy and Fakum Lam and Devil Jin, they are still very represented up here, and that is because you could play those characters when they were completely broken and get these ranks quite easily compared to the effort of getting them on a more reasonably balanced character. But now that you have those ranks with those characters, you can park them there and just leave them there forever, and they will sit there. They will boost and inflate your Tekken prowess. And as long as you don't consistently play them and defend your rank, consistently at that rank with that character, then it's just like a trophy that you've put on a shelf that you're going to keep forever. And it's extremely unfair to a person who wants to pick up one of these characters now. Say that you think, okay, Lydia is finally more reasonable, Leroy is finally more reasonable, I've wanted to play this character for a long time, but I've avoided it because of the stigma attached. I'm going to buy this character now and make an effort. You will struggle so much more to get to the higher ranks than people who've done it in the past, because the character has been cut in half twice. Still, good, but nothing near the level of power we had before. And so I think if you are going to nerf characters this hard, it sort of should come with some sort of a rank reset or soft rank reset, in my opinion. I think it's if you want a clear picture, if you want prowess and rank to mean something at this point, you need to clean house before you build the structure back up. Because right now, not only do we have cheaters all over the shop, and all of that stuff, rank hackers and whatever, we also have numbers that don't reflect the current balanced landscape of the game. But it's very difficult to advocate for something like a rank reset, because if you've been working on your ranks and your prowess and you've made a lot of progress, that's going to feel like that's all going down the can, like you got corrupted data, and that doesn't feel good. But I think if you want these numbers to make more sense, that would be very necessary. Somebody who had, like, you know, TGP or TGO on Leroy a couple of months ago, I mean, it's so different to getting it now. And Fakum Lam, I mean, these characters were some of the most overrepresented at the high ranks in the first place. Fakum Lam is a completely different character now. No, you don't have the same whiff punishment, the same counter hits, the same damage, the same frame data, nothing. So, yeah, people who like pick these characters up now and try and climb, I mean, more power to you. You are making a huge effort. And I think maybe at least when you get a high rank, or you have a high rank with these characters, they should come with a date, you know, achieved on this day. That would be pretty cool, because then we could know if you were, you know, one of the people who relied or over relied on the characters being broken, or one of the cool people who really had to make an effort when it mattered. This TGP is always a rank that I find really interesting to have a little bit of a deep dive on. So we're looking at character popularity at Tekken God Prime right here. You can tell that, you know, Leroy still really high up, Fakum Lam same. I don't think these are characters being consistently played at those ranks anymore. I think these are, you know, people have played these characters when they were broken, parked them at a high rank, gone back to the real mains. That's, you know, what I'm speculating. Feng, you can see, is one of the most represented characters up here now as well. And he's made it to become one of the, I think, the second most represented at TGO as well. It's an incredible boost for Feng in terms of popularity. And he's been developed so much more, right? The only really interesting thing with these numbers, apart from that, is I was thinking, you know, do we have, because for the most part, it reflects character popularity overall. The least played characters, you know, Eliza, Panda, are the least represented characters and so on. But if we look at Zafina, she's not a very popular character at all, but she's actually very, very common at TGP. And so it's an indication that, you know, few people play the character, but the ones that do tend to do well. It's an indication that this character is, you know, played by really cool people who are good at the game, but also, of course, that the character is really quite strong. And even though Zafina is one of my favorite characters and has been one of my mains in Season 4, as you know, if you watch my videos, I've kind of dropped her almost completely in the last few months, because I want to focus more on characters that don't do me any favors. So there you go. I personally don't think she's that strong, but the numbers indicate that she is, and you have to be careful, you know, about underestimating your own mains and overestimating the characters that you don't like. That's what always happens, you know. The constant joke on this channel is that I think that, you know, Brian is an overpowered, you know, shit-eating character. Most people don't think so. But that's also because I just don't like the design, right? And finally, we have rank distribution here across many of the higher ranks. Something that I've seen a bunch of people say in my chat recently, and something that I've felt a lot as well. I've really felt it playing, you know, a lot in the blue ranks when I was trying to learn Leo and stuff, is that proficiency at the sort of blue ranks before Emperor has gone way up. And even if you're a player who's like used to playing at a higher rank than that, you really can't let your guard down, because people have gotten extremely sharp at this game. It really feels like late Tekken 7, very evolved Tekken 7. Everybody's a killer, everybody knows what's up, you know, they're punishing moves, they have all the matchup knowledge, they've been playing the game for years. But you can tell that the blue ranks, the high blue ranks, have sort of stretched since the release of Season 4, and you actually now are not in the top 5% of players if you get to Emperor anymore. You have to get to, I think, Tekken King before you can count yourself in the top 5. And then we can see that the very top ranks as well has inflated a little bit. TGP, TTG, and Tekken God are sort of equally distributed, and then of course Omega, because it's so much harder to get with the amount of points that you have to get. It's a really long grind that is inflating, but it's inflating to a smaller extent, which I think makes sense. You know, with time, people get better, you know, people make more of an effort, the grind goes on even if it goes slowly, and people start pooling at the top. So yeah, really interesting numbers. I think, again, the main takeaways for me are the meteoric rise of Feng. the fact that I think we haven't seen exactly what the metagame is going to look like when patch 5.0 has been out for a while, but then finally, I think these numbers are being they're looking strange because of the massive balance changes we've had to super strong characters. And I think a rank reset for this game would be super necessary. I've said this in the past, but another favorite game of mine that I play a lot is Diablo 3. And in that game, every few months, they do a seasonal reset where you recreate your character and you get to do like the journey of building that character up again. And then they throw in a couple of new things, new items, things you can do. And I think something like that for Tekken. We reset the rank seasonally. We throw in a couple of small balance changes to throw up the meta a little bit, and now everybody can see, you know, how far can I get this character in this season, who's going to get to the really high ranks first, and so on. I think that would keep this interesting and fresh and have people excited about online more, where it feels like now it's twisted out of shape by all the cheaters and the weird stuff. It's twisted out of shape by the weird balancing changes that have happened, and even though, you know, the numbers are fun to look at, how much they actually reflect the landscape, I don't know. But I would love for you all, if you watch this, to make some new numbers for us a couple of months down the line and see what's happened. But let me know what you think specifically about a rank reset. Would you be upset about it? Would you feel robbed? Or would it make you more excited to actually get in and grind in this ranked mode? Are you one of those players who just, you know, you sit and play your matches and tournaments now because ranked is just, you know, too frustrating, toxic, or broken for you? Tekken is 3, the online doesn't work, and all the rest of it. I'm gonna wrap the video up there and, you know, keep working on my new apartment, which I'm really looking forward to, and then we'll do a stream really soon, and I'll see you guys then. But for now, thank you so much for watching this. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you again in a new video very soon.